All right, so here I want to talk quickly about passion, you know what I'm saying? Because I was watching a video, particularly a chat on Ravana Nun's channel, and I highly recommend you go check his, channel out, subscribe, and, you know what I'm saying, check out what he talks about. It's very interesting, you know? Now, a lot of the times when we listen to things, we don't necessarily need to learn anything, but just listening to certain things, you're having realizations, you know what I'm saying, based on experiences that you've had. Certain dots tie into certain things that you're experiencing in your life. Now when I talk about passion, for example, like for me, passion, there's things that I do and I know I'm passionate about it because it moves me. It's like it motivates me to want to do it. You get what I'm saying? See, there's a lot of times where when you don't want to do something and you're doing it, you may even end up yawning. You can't get into it, or it can't get into you either. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an energy, an emotion. The motivation moves you, and it's an energy that moves you. That's why it's called an emotion. You know what I'm saying? So there's times when I draw. You know what I'm saying? And, me drawing, I lose perception of time. I get into a meditative state, and I get into a flow. You know what I'm saying? When I'm working out, same thing. When I'm skating, you know what I'm saying? Same thing. I lose perception of time. I'm just enjoying it. I'm loving it, and I'm in flow. My soul is dancing. You know what I'm saying? It's an experience that's dancing in a way where it's a high vibration that I'm feeling, and it feels good. Like, do you know how they say time flies when you're having fun, right? So when you lose perception of time, where you feel like, 45 minutes passed, but you see that 2 hours passed. And sometimes when I'm drawing, I get into that flow where I lose that perception of time. But there's also a fine balance between, getting lost in like a certain type of desire to some extent, where when you think, let's say, there's people who may want to go to the gym and whatnot. But when they go to the gym, I see that they're yawning. They're not really into it. They just go just because they drag their feet to go. You know what I'm saying? Some even have to take a stimulant, like a strong stimulant, like a real strong pre-workout to even get themselves there. You know what I'm saying? But what's the reason that you're doing that? You know what I'm saying? If you're doing that because you had some type of trauma in your life where you're now trying to fit in, or you want to look a certain way because you got, lost in a desire of how somebody else looks, so you want to look the same way. You get what I'm saying? That's why I made the example in my previous videos about, why I work out is totally different than the reasons that I used to do it for. But I've always had a nice, deep-rooted desire to always love to work out. You get what I'm saying? Ever since I was a kid, I've liked to play sports, and I've liked to feel that rush, that adrenaline rush, that nitric oxide throughout my body. When I get a pump, that solid feeling, I liked it. You know what I'm saying? Now, having an understanding at the mental state that I'm in now, you know what I'm saying? I find that balance between trying to feel solid, yet not being too solid in my mind either. You get what I'm saying? Where I'm trying to be lighter as well. It's like a weird way to explain it or think about it, unless you're actually experiencing it. It's one of those, you just got to be there to know. But, when I draw, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing it where, let's say, for example, I have an intent before I draw, and I actually have to get motivated before I draw. It's not like I just draw because I just draw. You know what I'm saying? I do have to feel motivated to draw, and it's not like I force myself to get motivated. Sometimes my day, it could be a week that passes, 2 weeks, I don't draw a picture, but then something happens and it stimulated me to want to draw now. It's just like before I make a video. I don't make videos every single day, but then there's moments where if I feel like making a video, where I got into the energy of, just wanting to make a video, and something motivated me to talk about something, then I'll make the video. But I don't just make that, and I have to do the video then and there. It's not like I can just be like, oh, I'll do it later. No, I have to do it then and there, because later on, I won't be as motivated, or I may not even have the same motivation when I just did it then and there. So let's say, for example, a lot of the times, we want to do certain things with our life, I feel, and we just put it off to the side and say we'll do it later. But at that moment in time, if you feel the passion at that moment to do something, it motivated you, it moved you, you know what I'm saying, the energy, emotion, then I say do it then and there. It won't be the same later on, and later on doesn't exist, neither does the past. The only thing that exists is that now. So the moment you feel that power and that energy in your now, that's when you're supposed to take that advantage to do that. You get what I'm saying? So let's say, for example, a lot of people will buy statues, they'll buy certain things, and they'll do, their rituals or energy work with that. I found a passion in doing it with drawings, let's say. Now, the reason I use drawing is because I'm putting time and energy into my drawings, and I'm breathing on the paper. You know what I'm saying? As I'm drawing, I'm breathing on the paper. I'm also paying attention to the little details that I'm drawing. And some of my drawings are inspired by others. Some of them are freehand. You know what I'm saying? But if they're inspired by another picture, is no different than somebody taking a sigil and just drawing a sigil. You know what I'm saying? You're still copying it off some picture that you saw, or it inspired you from a picture you saw on the internet or on a book or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that you drew it adds that much more power to it, because you drew it. You didn't just print it out. You get what I'm saying? Because I could go to the library and print these pictures out, but the fact that I'm taking sometimes a couple of days to complete a drawing, or even 3 days, and then at the end I'm actually very proud and happy with the results of the drawing, it's more personalized. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I may add my own little twists to the drawings, and I'll make a video where I'm going to show you my drawings and whatnot. And that's important, because now this is why it's important to find your passion. And this comes down to knowing yourself. When you find your passion, okay, you are literally getting to know yourself. This is knowing yourself. You know what you like, and you know what you would do and what you wouldn't do. You know what I'm saying? If you find yourself doing something you don't want to do, you'll find yourself yawning as well. You'll find yourself getting nothing out of it, basically wasting your time. Now, a lot of people would basically tie in, well, I'm trying to find my passion in life, but you'll think about your passion in a way where what you can get out of it in a financial gain. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you'll even see certain people in the spiritual community where, they're dealing with spirits or energies and whatnot, and you look at that as a symbol of power. So then now you all of a sudden have a desire to be like that person. You know what I'm saying? Not really working on yourself first. This is why it's important to do that shadow work. You know what I'm saying? Because when you do that shadow work, you may not even be into what that person really is doing. You just got stimulated by the illusion of what it looked like to you at that moment. You know what I'm saying? But once you know what it is that you like I love gardening. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you know these things and you know what you're into and what you're not into, you'll start to see and connect things about what you're doing that has a lot to do with you. Because here's the thing, ever since I was a child, this has been a big curiosity of mine. How does life work? Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Ever since I was a kid, I was in school. They were teaching me about the Egyptian pyramids. I didn't believe the teacher. You know what I'm saying? Everybody bought the story they were listening to. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't buy that story. I was very into aliens. Till this day, I still am. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not as much into it as I was back then. You know what I'm saying? Because when we start to talk about aliens from outer space, you see, I don't believe we can leave this planet, but I do believe that there are interdimensional beings. You know what I'm saying? And we start to look at that and really some people have a closed mind about it. But in actuality, when you can perceive, let's say, an interdimensional being here, okay, or an interdimensional being is here and you can't see it, I mean, what do you think is happening when you have an out-of-body experience? You're going into another dimension, you know what I'm saying? While your physical body's still here. So you basically you don't know if these interdimensional beings or these aliens, you know what I'm saying, are basically having an out-of-body experience to get into this realm. It's not like they probably physically got here, but the aliens could be here in a metaphysical way. That's also a big possibility. You know what I'm saying? How do you know the power of you astral projecting, where you are, projecting yourself in a certain place in your mind? You're actually really there. You know what I'm saying? But how do you know these aliens are not projecting themselves into this reality, but they're doing it in a much more powerful way, or in a technique that we're not aware of? You know what I'm saying? And they're able to get here. You know what I'm saying? So, but why do I even mention that part? Because let's say, for example, the shadow work. When you do shadow work, you're going to go through moments where you're going to start to face dark aspects of yourself. You're going to start to face the real nasty bullshit about yourself, things that you may not have even known, or traumas that you may have hidden, which is why I mentioned this about the gym and whatnot. And, you get into these things not knowing that these really aren't your passion. You're just doing it for, traumatic reasons in your life. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't changing anything about you. It's just wasting your time. And when you start to face these things, they're all aspects and things about you. No different than when you go into a dream, whether it's a nightmare or a good dream, 95% of the dream is about you. So when you're doing this shadow work and you go into altered states of consciousness, but your intent before that is to do shadow work, you're going to basically, you may experience fear. But this is one thing I came to understand about fear. Okay, there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And the reason I say this is because spiritually, you want to be fearful, because you notice how the biggest cause of fear here in humanity is the fear of the unknown. But what happens when you know something now? Now you just became that much more powerful. You know what I'm saying? You feel more empowered. So think about this. The moment that you have an experience and you feel fear, that's an aspect of yourself that wants light. You know what I'm saying? Because when you know something, you shed light on something. You have light now. So now you're aware. You're more consciously aware of what you didn't know before. So now you feel more empowered. So these things are aspects of you that are actually in fear. And this is what you're experiencing. But it is not you that's experiencing it. It's your ego that's experiencing that fear, because your ego wants to keep you safe. That's the whole point of the mechanism of fear. Yet in spirituality, I think your spirit wants to be fearful. It wants to experience these things. Look at these financial gurus. They say that they're up for any challenge. The fear of things actually stimulate them to face it head on so that they can become that much more successful. So when you face something and you're fearful of it, you're facing yourself, but you're putting light to a situation, and now you just became that much more empowered. You became, now it's wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So these things that you're experiencing, okay, are you in fear of the unknown. And when you start to integrate it, you have the experience, and the observer is the consciousness, which is you observing this whole thing, literally taking effect. Now, when you start doing all these little things, situations and things will start to be placed in your life. People may fall off your life. People may come into your life. Things will start being presented to you. You'll start finding your passions. And believe it or not, these things don't just get answered to you in a meditation or in an altered state of consciousness. Sometimes these answers come in your physical realm. So when I garden, when I'm skating, when I'm doing certain things, even the way I'm feeding my dog, which I made a video, which I suggest you watch the last video I put up. I forgot what I titled it, but the very last video before this one that I'm going to post. Nutritional value is whose value? I put a lot of good points, especially toward the end. So watch that video. But if you really look at it, everything that you're doing out here ties into a lot of what is actually really pertaining to you. As far as like how I looked at the soil, how the plants work, how the garden actually, as far as alkalinity, acidity, what we should be putting in our body on a microbial, bacterial level, the viruses, all that is answered for me by gardening. And I'm not going to make this whole video because I've mentioned that in previous videos before about the different bacterias and all the stuff that I'm coming to as far as like, you know, why I love to do gardening. But there's just something about it. There's something about, you know, taking a seed, putting it in the soil and just watching it sprout and then putting it out in the garden when the season, when we're in season, and then just getting fruit out of it. It's a mesmerizing experience for me, but it may not be mesmerizing for you. So that's why I say not everybody is supposed to be doing gardening. I'm just mentioning it because it's my passion, and what I'm getting out of it is worth more than any financial gains that you can possibly give me out here. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I always ask myself, what happens if I would have been still in the flow that I was back then, making a lot of money? You know what I'm saying? Which that's a whole different topic, because I'm all about money. I'm gonna tell you that right now, because we need to sustain ourselves here. But if you can find your passion through that, even better. That's not what I'm saying, that you don't find your passion through, because at the end of the day, when you empower yourself, all those financial gains that you would basically acquire out here will just be an after effect. Will just be an effect of your empowerment. Because you see, you have to understand, power is going to be with power. You know what I'm saying? You're swimming in that water already. So you're going to only attract that into your physical realm. So this is, one of the reasons why I started to talk about the passion part, because it starts to answer questions for you in your physical realm. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just happen. And, and most of the time it's going to happen through conscious and awareness. You just got to start to read between the lines of the things that are going on out here. You know what I'm saying? The people are going to start to tell you things. Somebody may have a radio and you hear a song playing and you got to hear those words. And sometimes that song is talking to you because you start to hear the words and it starts to answer things that you may have had in mind already. And it's like that. It's literally that tricky. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh shit. That song just answered my question, and life will start to look that magical to you. You know what I'm saying? I took a couple of notes here because I didn't want to forget what I was talking about. So the focus part, a lot of people, for example, have a hard time focusing through their meditation. The focus is the work. You get what I'm saying? Because that's a muscle. That's something you exercise. It's like when you go to the gym, you get stronger, but a lot of people think they have to meditate for hours, and it's not really. You don't go to the gym and you're gonna get any more brolic, or any much better gains by working out 5 hours in the gym. You know what I'm saying? You go, you work out 45 minutes, and you make those 45 minutes quality workouts. But there's also techniques. So the same way, I found that there's techniques when you meditate, which I'll make it in another video, that have worked for me to help me keep that focus. Because I do notice the thoughts, the bombardment, and why you take over the breath is because that's literally you taking over the wheel. See, when you're scared, your breathing patterns change. When you're anxious or stressed out, your breathing patterns change. But when you're in a calm state, you're in tune with nature. So you have to know what your natural rhythm is, and you keep your breath at that rhythm that works for you to let your subconscious know that everything is okay. You get what I'm saying? So that you're aligning all your bodies to be in harmony with what your intent is. See, before you meditate, you have an intent. Why am I going into this meditation, or what am I meditating for? You clear your mind first. You know what I'm saying? And you have a clear intent. And then what you do is, let's say, for example, here's a good workout, and I'll make this one short so that this way I'll tie it into the other video. But let's say, for example, you have your passions out here. Mine is skating or gardening or working out or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I can mentally put myself, I love driving fast, but we have to control ourselves doing that here, because if not, we get pulled over by a cop and get a nice chunky ticket. But in my mind, I'll even put myself in a sports car driving super fast, maybe even racing somebody on the highway. You know what I'm saying? It's a safe, effective way to do it because I'm doing it in my mind. But the fact that I'm doing that, I can literally keep my mind focused on that. That's already strengthening that focus muscle. So let's say, for example, I want to go into a meditation where I'm literally doing it with the intent to clear my mind. I have this tunnel vision toward what I want, but it's like you have these eyes. You're not really seeing with these eyes, but you're starting to focus on those like little color patterns that you see. That's when you're starting to change brainwave states. You know what I'm saying? That works for me. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people. I watched one of Brother Panic's videos, and he's talking about, when you have like an apple and, visualize that apple. I couldn't do that because I'll fall asleep doing that, or I'll just be bored out of my mind doing that. So I want to do something that I enjoy doing, because it's no different than if I go to the gym. If I'm not enjoying my workout, I'm going to start yawning. If I'm into my workout and I'm motivated and I'm pumped and I'm feeling the nitric oxide, that beautiful vascularity in my body, then that's keeping me motivated. You know what I'm saying? So I'm into it. So if I'm in my meditation and I want to strengthen my focus muscle, then I'm going to start with those exercises. Eventually, because some people even need to hear binaural beats. So, eventually you want to get to the point that you don't even need the binaural beats. You want to get to the point that you don't need to visually put yourself in a garden or driving fast or in a gym or drawing. Because in my mind, sometimes I'll even draw. And sometimes there was a picture that came in my mind, and I drew it down on paper, and it was a tiger. You know what I'm saying? But it was in an emblem. But it was crazy because it just pixelized in front of my vision, but with my eyes closed. And it's pretty insane. Till this day, I don't know what that meant. But it looked like it was an emblem from a uniform or whatnot. And I drew it. You know what I'm saying? I drew it, and it was inspired by even another picture, so that I can actually get the details right. You know what I'm saying? So, photographic memory. When we talk about photographic memory, your brain is always taking photographs out here. You know what I'm saying? And that's the key, is to try to strengthen that, so that you can try to have better photographic memory. But you do that with awareness and consciousness, so that the more you are aware and conscious, the more you're paying attention to the little details, where when you close your eyes and you remember what you saw, you can remember it with more detail. You get what I'm saying? And I'm exercising that through drawings and through pictures and whatnot. And then there's certain things that I can actually pinpoint the little details that I may have missed, that I could be looking at every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like there may be something more red things in my own room that I would have ever imagined. But the fact that I became aware of it, I was able to now see it, but I wasn't aware of it before. You know what I'm saying? It's just an example. And by the way, when you let's say if you get lazy, let's say when you're meditating, you feel lazy, you feel like you always drift off to sleep. That's the focus also is focusing on the breath for that reason. But it's not to say, because the breath, you know, we talk about, it sounds cliche, but the reason I feel like that works for me is because when you work out, for you to have stamina or muscle stamina, cardio, you have to breathe a certain way. You know what I'm saying? It requires oxygen into the lungs to keep your body active through running. You're not going to hold your breath while you run. You ain't going to run very far, right? When you work out, you need to breathe a certain way. A lot of people, they lift and they'll, and that you get a hernia. You hurt yourself. So what do? You go, you know what I'm saying? And you breathe, and then you breathe out, you know, the contraction and the contraction of the muscle to the extension. So you basically want to be breathing. So when you're meditating, that's how I feel like you take control of the wheel, is by controlling your breath, but it also keeps your energy up where you won't fall asleep because you're oxygenating your body. What happens when somebody doesn't have oxygen? You know what I'm saying? They may pass out. That's why they put oxygen masks in airplanes. If the air oxygen level goes low, or in hospitals, they'll put oxygen masks on somebody that's sick. So that's the reason why. You want to make sure that you're oxygenating the body. And this is the purpose of certain things you may eat before you meditate also make a big difference. If you eat too much, you know what I'm saying? You basically adding pressure in the midsection with your solar plexus. Your body has to take energy to process all that, because it takes energy, you know, to metabolize food, but it also takes circulation to the gut to metabolize food. So if you're trying, like me, for example, I'm not going to go to the gym with food in my stomach because I'm not going to get a good pump, and I'm going to feel lethargic because I'm sharing energy from working out to metabolizing food. I'm also sharing energy to metabolize food instead of just putting it all directly into the muscle, feeding all the nutrients to the muscles with the intent for me to put all that pump into the muscle while I'm working out. So this is why even before you meditate, you know, you don't want to have a crazy full stomach for that reason. You know what I'm saying? It's like adding restriction. It's making your load heavy. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what else I wanted to cover. And by the way, breathing even aids in proper digestion. If you know, you can check my video on cellular respiration, but I'll make a separate video on the Krebs cycle of how all that works. You know what I'm saying? Based on how you eat and how you're breathing, just breathing itself. But I think that's and by the way, fear, like I said, when I was talking about fear is literally a stimulant. But when we look at fear, we look at it as a bad thing because of what we're indoctrinated to say, that it's just another emotion. It's all it is. It's an emotion that could serve you or it could work against you. But when you utilize the fear, it's just like because you could be even more. I made a video, an example of this in my way previous videos, where if I'm drunk and I'm behind the wheel, I'm afraid to get pulled over, but I'm also more conscious and aware of what I'm doing. I got to pay attention to all the road. But when you're not drunk, what happens? Some people they drive, they look around, they're even texting. You're more prone to getting into an accident like that than when you're drunk, when you're completely aware and paying attention to the speed limit, the cops, so you don't get pulled over. You know what I'm saying? So there's many different ways to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure that what you're doing it because it's truly a passion of yours and not something that you saw that stimulated you from somebody else. So if you like the video, like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk soon.